Hello everyone, my name is Hanif Zulfa Fauziyah. Today my friends and I are going to explain about the story of the British royal family tree. But before we start our presentation, let my friends introduce themselves first.
Hello, I am Malak, Sameh, Rabaa.
Hi, my name is Nur Alfiyyah, and the reason why we choose this topic because it is interesting to learn about how can they survive for so long, the history, and how they try to be true for the identity of England, and then of course the culture, and that's the reason why.
Okay, now let's start our presentation. Happy watching everyone!
First of all, William I is William the Conqueror in 1066. He had 3 children, William II and Henry I and Adela. William II, in 1087, he became king and he didn't marry. Then in one day, he died in a hunting accident. Then Henry I, in 1100, he had 2 children, William and Matilda. William died in shipwreck, declared that his daughter would rule next. When Henry I died, while Matilda was in France, many ignored this while her cousin Stephen, Adela's son, trying to get coronated first. Then Matilda came back and started a decade-long civil war. Matilda did rule part of the islands, but never got coronated officially. Her monarchical status is disputed. Then Stephen, in 1135, his children were either died, disinterested, or unknown. His crown went to his nephew, Henry II, Matilda's son. Henry II, in 1154, he had 4 sons: Henry the Young, Richard the Leonhard, King John, and Geoffrey died. He died. He changed the system and crowned Henry the Young as his CO king with him in 1170, which raised civil war by his brothers, where Henry the Young died because of dysentery. Henry II died of fever, and Richard I took the crown. Richard I in 1189, then he passed to King John 1199. Then Henry III in 1216. Then Edward Longshanks in 1272. Then Edward II in 1307. He was overthrown by Isabel of France, his wife. After that, she acted as regent of their son. Edward III in 1327. He had 4 sons: Edward the Black Prince, Lionel of Antwerp, John of Gaunt, Edmund of Langerie, Thomas Woodstock. Then Edward III died. His throne would have gone to the Black Prince, but he was dead at that time, so the crown went to his son Richard. Richard II, in 1377, overthrown by Henry IV, John of Gaunt's son.
And then there is Henry V, Henry VI, and Edward IV. And then Edward IV had 2 children, Elizabeth of York and Edward V. Then Edward IV died, continued by his son Edward V. Edward V at that time was 12 years old, then his uncle Richard became his protector. Then Edward V disappeared under suspicion. Because of that, Richard became Richard III. But that's not for long, because Richard III overthrown by great-great-great-great-grandson from John Gaunt, Henry VII, who was married with Elizabeth of York to strengthen his claim of the crown. They had 3 children: Margaret Tudor, Henry VIII, and Mary Tudor. And the crown goes to Henry VIII, who had 3 children: Mary I, Elizabeth I, and Edward VI. Then Edward VI ascended the throne and declared if he died and his sister doesn't seem to fit the throne, it is expected to give the throne to Lady Jane Grey. And then Lady Jane Grey became the queen for 9 days before beheaded by Mary I. And then Mary I became the queen for 5 years but had no children, and continued by his sister Elizabeth I, who also don't have children, so the heir of monarchy stopped. And then Parliament observed the monarchy family tree to find blood-related family that seemed fit to the monarchy. And then it is found out that John Beaufort who is great-granddaughter of Edward III, married with James I of Scotland. And then Margaret Tudor also married with James IV of Scotland. And then there is the Scotland reign, James I, James II, James III, James IV, James V, and Mary of Scots. And then for that, they found out that James VI of Scotland have legitimacy point in the eyes of the English Parliament and asked to borrow Scotland's King James VI and the first for England, and he is the son of Mary Queen of Scots, making him king of two countries. And then James VI and the first had two children, Elizabeth and Charles I.
Okay, now let's continue on the reign of Charles I in 1625. Charles I had three children. They were Charles II, James II, and Mary, Princess of Orange. During the reign of Charles I, there was Oliver Cromwell, an English general who didn't like monarch system and wanted to erase king title. Then Charles I executed by Oliver Cromwell. Oliver Cromwell became Lord Protector for England. Then Oliver Cromwell overthrown by Charles II, who was Charles I's son. Charles II succeeded his father, but he didn't have legitimate child. So the throne continued by his father, James II, in 1685. James II had two daughters. They were Mary II and Queen Anne. James II was a Catholic. During Henry VIII split the church, Catholics had terrible approval things. But this problem then brought to light when his two daughters, Mary II and Queen Anne, were both Protestant. Then Mary II married William III, Prince of Netherlands, or grandson of Charles I, from Mary, Princess of Orange. William III and Mary II succeeded James II, but they didn't have any children, so the throne passed to Queen Anne, her sister. Unfortunately, Queen Anne also had no successor. She had 17 miscarriages. The monarchs had no heirs. Parliament decided to do a real reboot to clear the craft and define Sophia of Hanover, the granddaughter of James VI and the first from Elizabeth, to be the new starting point of all claims to the crown. From Sophia of Hanover, the throne passed to George I, then the throne passed to George II and passed to George III. From George III, he had four sons. They were George IV, Frederick, William IV, and Prince Edward. After George III died, the throne passed to King George IV. Because King George IV didn't have a successor, George IV was succeeded by William IV. But William IV had no legitimate children, so the throne was passed to Prince Edward. Unfortunately, Prince Edward died first, so that the throne was continued by his daughter, Queen Victoria. From Queen Victoria, the throne passed to her son, Edward VII, and passed to George V. From George V, the throne passed to Edward VIII. Edward VIII crowned in January 1936, but the throne in December 1936 because he married with a widow from American, Willis Simpson. Then the throne continued by George VI, who was Edward VIII's brother. From George VI, he married Elizabeth, Queen Mother, and had two daughters. They were Elizabeth II and Margaret. George VI died in his sleep, which then made Elizabeth II, who was 25 years old, become his successor. Elizabeth II reigned from 1952 to present. She became the longest reigning queen in world history. Okay, finally we come to the end of our presentation about the history of British royal family tree.
What I can conclude from this presentation is it takes a very long time for the British royal family to be able to maintain the monarchy system and keep its lineage pure. And as you can see, that the politics of the kingdoms is not as beautiful as we imagine. There are many disputes, pros and cons on it. Okay, then that's all from us. We do apologize for any mistakes. Thank you very much for your attention. See you, and don't forget to stay safe and stay healthy. Bye bye.